It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. It's Friday. Friday on the News Blitz is dedicated to happy hour, where we get to take things a little easier, talk about food and drinks and events and adventure and travel and all the things that we enjoy out of life instead of Monday through Thursday, which is all the things in politics that irritate you. Try to take it a little easier on a Friday. And I got to tell you, we are getting into some of my favorite times of the year. Fall in Los Angeles, fall in Southern California is pretty darn special. We're, I don't know, maybe a week or two away from the weather getting back to normal after heat wave after heat wave after heat wave. And there's just something about those autumn days. They're going to be lovely. And then you get to the point where we're in the last quarter of the year. Q4 started on Tuesday, and it's all about the holidays and the traditions. And it used to only be about Christmas and a little Thanksgiving, but now I feel like it's a 3-month celebration of everything, because the big holiday coming up is Halloween. And Halloween is no longer a one-night event. Halloween is a month-long celebration of just whatever you want it to be. Things that are scary, costumes, candy. It's pretty great, and Los Angeles and Southern California has so many different events where you can celebrate Halloween, whether it's stuff to take the little kids to, like pumpkin patches, stuff to take the big kids to, like some of the theme parks, stuff that's good for the whole family, places that are fun to enjoy for you if you happen to be in your 20s and want to do something crazy and fun. There's just so many cool events out there, and that's what I'd like to dedicate today's show to, because you might not know all of the things there are to do this month. That's why we're doing this so early. October just started, and there are events that are launching tonight. There are events that are launching this week, and they're going to run throughout the entire month. And there are some events you probably do every single year. Maybe you look forward to it. So here's what I want to know from you at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. What are the Halloween-style events in Southern California that you look forward to every year? Do you go to Universal? Do you go to a pumpkin patch? Tell me where you like to go, where you like to take the friends, take the family. How do you like to celebrate your Halloween? I got a few places that I've been to over the years, but I'm sure I don't know nearly as many things as there are to do. But there are a lot of events, a lot of annual events, and let's give some love to them, because Los Angeles and Southern California seems to be a pretty big epicenter for these kinds of events. Whether it's a haunted house, doesn't matter. Tell me all about it. Places you love to go during the Halloween season. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. I'd like to start us off with a place I discovered about 10 years ago through a few friends. And it's up in La Cañada, Flint Ridge. And if you've ever been to La Cañada, Flint Ridge, they have a gorgeous botanical gardens there called Descanso Gardens. And when you get to the Halloween times, in fact, I think the first night is tonight, Descanso Gardens at night during October turns into Carved. What is Carved? Carved is an incredible, amazing display of the most inventive, artful jack-o'-lantern carvings all throughout the gardens. You will see some amazing pieces of art. It is so much fun. When the weather is nice, you can walk around everywhere. It is a really good time. Plus, that part of town is gorgeous anyway. But Descanso Gardens Carved event starts tonight. It runs throughout the month of October. It's not too expensive to go there. It's a lot of fun for all ages, because you're going to see some really, really, really cool jack-o'-lanterns. As they say on the website, although I don't like puns, it's Bootiful night at Descanso. You can check out all the ways to get in there when they do this. It's so much fun. I loved going. DescansoGardens.com. That's DESCANSO gardens.org. DescansoGardens.org. Check out Carved. That is a lot of fun. I have a very, very, very distinct memory. It might be my favorite Halloween memory for being an adult. this is a couple years into my wife and I going out, and a couple of friends say we're going to this thing at Descanso Gardens. And this might have been right near Halloween weekend. We were dressed up. Everyone was in costume, and we're wandering around looking at all the jack-o'-lanterns, and I kept getting recognized. Not because I'm a famous radio celebrity, because I'm really not, just a guy that does the radio, but because this was the 9th year in a row I had donned what I consider to be my favorite all-time Halloween costume. If you've ever seen a picture of me, first you'd be confused why I have the last name Wang. That's another story for another time. But you may notice that I bear a stunning resemblance to a fast food mascot, to a restaurant icon. Based on the way that I comb my hair, and I'm a little portly and a little chubby, and I got rosy cheeks, I look dead ringer for Bob's Big Boy, the big boy himself. And in 2009, 2010, I went on a mission to make a Bob's Big Boy costume. My parents ended up helping me with this whole thing where we took some painter's pants and red duct tape and created that checker print that you're so used to seeing, made the suspenders out of fabric. I loved wearing this costume so much. I wore it every Halloween until that costume pretty much fell apart. Because the thing was, you couldn't really wash it because, again, the red checker marks were made with duct tape. So we walked all around Descanso Gardens, and people kept saying, hey, it's Bob's Big Boy. By the way, to complete the costume, I didn't do this every year, but I took a plate and I took this fake hamburger that I had that was like a Magic 8-Ball hamburger that I got a gift from my old podcast many years ago. And so I'd constantly be walking around holding the plate up like I'm Mr. Bob's Big Boy, and people wanted to take pictures with me, and I looked so cool. I really enjoyed it. But that wasn't the best part. Afterwards, we went back we were living in Burbank at the time, and downtown Burbank, it's a real good time if you live in walking distance and you don't mind the fact that everything closes at like 10. But we went to Barney's Beanery in Burbank, and they were having an impromptu costume contest. And I was dressed up as Bob's Big Boy. My wife, who I was just dating at the time, was dressed up as the Statue of Liberty. And what do you know? We got first and second place. We didn't even know there was going to be a costume contest. We just showed up. And I'll always remember that. That was a really good time. But it all started with the carved event at Descanso Gardens. If you got a Halloween event that you'd like to shout out in your neck of the woods, something that you like to go to every year, something you go with your friends, you go with your family, give me a call. Tell me a great place to go have some Halloween fun this month. 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. Now, of course, as somebody that was born and raised here in Southern California, you really get pretty spoiled with the proximity to the best theme parks on the West Coast because they're all within driving distance. And heck, I grew up in Santa Clarita, so it was pretty much rule that you had to go to Magic Mountain at least once every couple of months. And it's fascinating how these theme park Halloween events have really expanded. When I was a teenager in the 90s, there was a Fright Fest at Magic Mountain, but it was so little. There were some cool things, but the whole idea of like turning the entire park into like 10, 12 different Halloween mazes, all with different branding. Back the first time I went to a Fright Fest, this has got to be like 96, 97, maybe 98. They had one maze, and it was at the very top of the mountain next to the Ninja. It was called Willoughby's Mansion. I think they still have it, but they didn't really understand that like the best way to do these things is to constantly have the performers ready to scare you at a moment's notice. And they would have a group of like 5 people go from room to room to room, and then you'd see something scary and you'd get spooked, and oh, look at that. That line, the first year they did it, it probably took 2 hours to get in there. And I've always been a person, I don't necessarily get scared if I know something scary is about to happen, which is funny because I can get spooked real easy if I have no idea what's about to happen. I have been in my studio at KABC, and I'm getting really focused, maybe I'm cutting up some sound, someone can open the door, and if I don't notice them and I have my headphones on and they say something, I have been known to shriek. I have been known to shout. I have been known to get a little panicked. Heck, one time I was parking in my driveway. This is just a few months ago. And I was getting ready to get out of the car, go into the house, prep for this show. And my wife had noticed that I had parked the car, but I hadn't come out yet. So she was coming out to tell me something. And she walked over to my side of the door. And again, I wasn't paying attention to any of this because I was staring at something on my phone. And I look up and I see her face and I straight up shrieked. But when it comes to a haunted house, it's never really gotten me. That being said, I still really enjoyed them as a teenager. And over the years, going through my formative teenage years, Fright Fest got a lot bigger and there were more and more events every year. They eventually realized just have people constantly walking through the maze and they'll see stuff and it'll be fun and it's kind of a challenge. See how many of these things you can go to. So we would do that one all the time. In fact, one memory that I have that was always really cool the first few years I did a Fright Fest was, it wasn't just the mazes. They had some shows, they had some events that had some kind of Halloween theme, including they would have this guy, his name was Mad Chad, and he was a juggler. But his whole shtick was, and he even did this on The Tonight Show, he could juggle chainsaws. And I would watch that every year. I thought it was so much fun. He would do this bit where he would be juggling knives and an apple and cut the apple while he's juggling. And it's an incredible talent. Do this stuff on a unicycle, too. I don't know how that is possible, but that is some quite talent. That was always a lot of fun. And then growing up as I got older and I became an adult and I lived in the Valley, Halloween Horror Nights at Universal. That one was always like Halloween to the extreme because when I finally got to the point in my late teens, early 20s, where that was a thing we would do regularly every year, that's when these events would get so much bigger, where they started having branding. Oh, it's the Walking Dead maze. It's the Scream maze. It's the Psycho maze. Well, now you got to go do the maze of your favorite movie. Heck, I think last year to tie into the Ghostbusters movie, they did one for Ghostbusters, but that's supposed to really be a comedy. But hey, whatever. There's going to be some scary stuff. You'd be like, oh, I kind of recognize that reference. That's some good times. But the thing that was always wild about Universal, and I'm sure they still do this, I haven't been in a few years, but when they have the people who like to run at you with the fake chainsaws or run at you with the fake knives, or not Scary Farm, I remember the thing was they'd always have these knee pads on so they could scrape something against the floor and that would spook you. It's so much fun that we pay money to get chased around and scream bloody murder. But it was a good time. And I'll be honest, a couple of times in my mid-20s during that drug phase of my life, I would take some pot chocolates to Universal Studios and eat those while I was standing in the lines. But that was always a really good time. But there are so many different events out there. I can only really tell you about a few of them because I've only done a few of them. But there are plenty out there. I want to hear from you at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Some of the events that you like to do, take the family, take the friends to every year to celebrate the Halloween season. I'll tell you some that I've never done. I have never done the Haunted Hayride. I don't know anything about it. I know it gets crowded, and I know that it could be a whole thing, but if you want to tell me about the Haunted Hayride, I'd love to hear about it. Here's a fun one. This has got to be 5 or 6 years ago. No, this is way longer. This might have been 10 years ago. Time starts to go real fast for me. I think everything just happened and it was over a decade ago. But a friend has a birthday in October and she wanted to celebrate that birthday at the Queen Mary. And the Queen Mary is always a good time. I think it's finally reopened. The Queen Mary that year, not only could you go in there and stay inside the boat if you want to do that and stay and have a drink there, but they were doing, and this is something you can only do with a big group, especially a big group that's not going to take anything seriously, but they were offering ghost hunting tours because this was around the time that all those ghost reality shows were getting real popular. And so you go to the Queen Mary and then they give you flashlights and a whole bunch of what I can only describe as doodads. And the doodads are like, oh, hit this button and you might hear a certain frequency. And we need to figure out we track anything. And you go to the bottom of the ship and you wander around with a guide as you try to see if you can find evidence of ghosts. It was silly. It was ridiculous. And it wasn't like, this was like a big production where there's like people dressed up as ghosts. No, you just have to use this equipment to think if you see ghosts. Like hold up a divining rod, see if it points you anywhere. I wasn't buying any of it, but it was a lot of fun playing with the little doodads and pretending like, yeah, we're going to find some ghosts. So that was a pretty good one. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. 1-800-222-5222. I can only tell you about a few of the events I've been to, but we have listeners in Orange County, Ventura County, Los Angeles County, San Bernardino County, and Riverside. Tell me great places to go experience the Halloween season, whether it's a pumpkin patch, whether it's a haunted house, whether it's a fun event that you can take with your friends, something you can do with the family. Tell me things that you like to do this season. I'd love to hear about it as we talk about our Halloween traditions. The next month we'll get into Thanksgiving, and then after that, look at that, it's Christmas time, and I can't wait for that. We're getting close to the end of the year, and I love it. Don't have to think about all the craziness that's going on in the world. We have our traditions. We think about our traditions, and the traditions bring back memories and make us feel very grateful for being here because there is a lot of fun stuff to do this month in Southern California. So give me a call and tell me about it. This is your opportunity. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Happy Hour Friday, celebrating Halloween season on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's Happy Hour Friday, and we're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It is the official kickoff to the Halloween season. There are fun events to take your friends, take the family, the small kids, the big kids too, all month, whether it's the theme parks, the haunted houses, the pumpkin patch, or all the other things in between. Tell me in your neck of the woods some fun stuff that there is to do out there, maybe some of the traditions that you do with your friends and family every year to celebrate the big all Halloween season. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's start with Mike in San Diego. Mike, hello. Hey, Mike.
Yeah, you there?
Hey, you're on the air.
Oh, hey, man. Goes. I'm over here in San Diego. We're coming up short on black cats and virgins for sacrifices right now. I'm just putting a shout out for that.
I'll let you know if we find any.
Yeah, we do sacrifices over here, so we're coming out short on black cats right now and virgins.
Well, at least you got all those fun breweries that you can drown your sorrows in the fact that you can't do any sacrifices. Thanks so much for the call, Mike. Appreciate it. There you go. You know, it's funny. The more you talk about something, the more you have flash memories. It wasn't just the haunted houses and the mazes at Magic Mountain and the shows, but they used to take the Colossus and they used to run that thing backwards. And that was always so cool to me because you get to a point as a teenager, I think I've expressed this before, you know, when you grow up in Santa Clarita, you go to Magic Mountain 5 times a year. So the big milestones growing up are how much taller you're getting and how many rides you can get on. And because you're a snotty-nosed teenager, once you're old enough to do the Revolution that has the loop or the Viper that has 9 loops, you're like, I'm too old for the Colossus. That's not cool anymore. That's for 36-inch tall kids. Well, you know what? You know what happens? At Halloween time, they have the Colossus goes backwards, and you have to be 48 inches for that. That's right. You have to be taller. That's for the big kids. And I always thought that was really, really, really cool. Of course, that whole park has changed so much since those days. They changed Colossus. Now it's like a twisty ride, but it's still a little bit. That thing is iconic. You know, you go into the parking lot, it's the first thing that you see. But I do remember that. That was always really cool. So I got events that I can tell you about, but I want you to tell me events that you like to go to this year. Maybe it's Boo at the Zoo. Maybe it's the Haunted Hayride. Tell me some things that I don't know about. Halloween events in the Southern California area. A lot of them kick off this weekend and go all month long. So let's give some love, give some shout outs to the fun Halloween events for for the friends, for the whole family, right here on the News Blitz with Randy Wang. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Tell me where you like to celebrate the Halloween season. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. It's October. Fall is here. The end of the year is approaching. It's time for all of our favorite traditions, starting off with the fact that a lot of Halloween-themed events start kicking off this weekend. Southern California is famous for how many cool Halloween events there are. Could it be that there are 4 major theme parks within driving distance? Could be, but there's also haunted houses. There's also pumpkin patches and so many other fun events to take the friends to, take the family to. What are the Halloween traditions you like to enjoy every single year? Maybe there's some Halloween events that you remember doing when you were a kid. Give me a call, 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222 as we celebrate the harvest season, the Halloween season in Southern California. 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Andrea in Simi Valley. Andrea, hello.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. So we like to go to the Gillette Ranch out in Calabasas every year for the Knights of the Jack. And it's a 1 mile walk around with an immersive experience with lights and jack-o'-lanterns and all kinds of decorative stuff. When you get in there, there's professional pumpkin carvers, and you can watch them carve these elaborate, just beautiful pumpkins. There's all kinds of stuff for the kids, and then one of our favorite parts is the Spookeasy, where you can get yourself a drink, and you can take those drinks and take them around the 1 mile walk. It's really a lot of fun.
Okay, now you're speaking my language. That sounds like a blast. That's the one thing I think Descanso Gardens doesn't have. Oh my goodness, you can get a drink at the Spookeasy and then watch all the cool pumpkin carvings?
Oh, yeah, you can do that. You can take your drink on the trail, and then you can just hang out and sit on the straw bales and just hang out with your friends. It's really fun.
I'm definitely going to make sure I do that this year. That sounds like a blast. I happen to also be in the valley, so that's pretty easy to get to. But that sounds like a really good time.
It's a blacktop walk. So you're walking on blacktop the whole time. It's awesome. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So yeah.
Well, I love the suggestion.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome. Nice talking with you.
Nice to talk to you, Andrea. Please call us again. So great to hear from you. The website for that one, knightsofthejack.com. That's knightsofthejack.com. An immersive Halloween experience in the Santa Monica Mountains in the Calabasas area that runs September 27th through November 2nd. So there are plenty of chances to get out there. That looks like a ton of fun. I got to do that. I want to go to the Spookeasy. Also, walking around when the weather's nice at night, can't beat that. I've already got enough mosquito bites for the entire season, so I think I'm good for the rest of the year. But that sounds like a blast. Okay, I'm going to that. knightsofthejack.com. knightsofthejack.com. Let's go to Frank in San Pedro. Frank, hello.
Hey, Randy, how you doing? We used to go to an event called the Artist and Models Ball. It was held in Hollywood right a couple of days just before Halloween. They don't do it anymore, I don't think, but it was fantastic. There was these beautiful ladies there, and it was, they're wearing skimpy outfits. It was unbelievable. We went to the Palladium is where they had it the last time that I recall. But that was many years ago, but it was really, really, really fun and exciting. Besides that night, it could enter into the next day as well, if you know what I mean.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a blast. And the Palladium, that has always been one of my favorite venues in Hollywood. That sounds like a good time.
It was a great time. The Artist and Models Ball. I don't believe they have that anymore, but It was a great time. Everybody was dressed up, and it was just there was even celebrities there. Just a wild night. I recall that, and we went to a few of them. The guy that we went with was called Gypsy Boots. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He was sort of a nutritionist, and he was into health and everything else like that. So there was a group of us and who knew this guy, Gypsy Boots, and we went to this event, and it was a blast, I'm telling you.
The Artists and Models Ball hosted by Gypsy Boots at the Hollywood Palladium. We got to bring that back. That sounds like a real good time.
Absolutely. Hey, I love your show. You're doing so, you're offering people or telling people a lot of information. I love what you're doing, and keep up the great job.
Well, thank you so much for the call, Frank. You have a great weekend. That's all you got to do to get on board here. Tell me about an event that you like to take the friends and family to on the Halloween season, or something you used to do as a kid, even something that doesn't exist anymore. I love hearing about that. That's so cool. How old is the Palladium? That venue's been around forever. I've been to many events at the Palladium, and all different kinds of events. I went to an EDM show there. I went to a rap show there, and I went to a It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia live comedy show there. So I've seen everything you could possibly see at the Palladium. That is a great, great venue. One of these days, I'm going to have to add to my list of happy hour shows, because now I have a whole list of all the topics we're going to keep doing, because I feel like once I have everyone out there, then we can start repeating them. But we got to do live music venues, because we did one show about the Hollywood Bowl, and we'll do that again. But Palladium is a great venue. That is a good time, and a little easier to get to than some of the places on the Sunset Strip, because it's right there on, what is it, Argyle? I think it's Argyle. Yeah. Palladium's a good time. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the Halloween season, whether it's going to the theme parks, which I know a lot of people like to do that. Disneyland does the whole Oogie Boogie dance party now. It used to just be go to Halloween with Mickey, but they've definitely adulted that up, because the real money at Disneyland is in the Disney adults. I should know. I have a brother who is obsessed. I have another brother who's obsessed with Halloween and Halloween mazes, and I think he's going to Fright Fest right now. So you want to give a shout out to Not Scary Farm or Halloween Horror Nights or a local haunted house in your neighborhood, places that do cool lights, places that do pumpkin patches, or fun events to take the friends, take the family. Now's your opportunity to get on the line and give a shout out. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. As we celebrate Halloween in Southern California, there are so many different events to go to all throughout the Southern California region to celebrate harvest, to celebrate pumpkins, to celebrate costumes, to celebrate scary. It's all around us, and you got to take advantage of it. So if you got something you'd like to shout out, now's the time to do so. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. You know what's one that I started doing with my old radio and podcast partner Gina Grad turned me on to, because she was a cool Hollywood kid. And the cool Hollywood kids, especially the hipsters, in fact, this event was always hipsters galore, is the outdoor movies at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. And you know what? It's always a good time, because ultimately, what is it? It's you're taking a picnic when the weather is perfect out at night, and you're sitting in a big crowd with a whole bunch of like-minded people that all want to see Ghostbusters for the 700th time or Beetlejuice for the 800th time. It's always a lot of fun at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. Now, I got to be honest, I bet it's more fun now than when I used to go. Because when I used to go, they didn't have Lyft and Uber then. So the only way to get to the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, which is like, right in the middle of Hollywood, is to drive there. And it's one thing to drive there, because driving in Hollywood is its own Halloween nightmare. But it's a whole other thing to try to find parking around there because you're pretty much looking for neighborhood parking. You'll be parking a good mile away at best, and you're going hours early because you don't want to wait in the long line. And you probably have picnic chairs with you and picnic baskets and all the food that you got from Gelson's or wherever. But if you can make that whole trek and you can lay down that picnic table, I got to imagine of the movies that I've probably been to that 5 or 6 times, and every single time, I don't think I paid attention to more than 10 minutes of the movie, except for once, and this wasn't Halloween related, but it was some Big Lebowski fest, and that was a ton of fun. But the Halloween ones, especially, you're at a cemetery. How cool is that? And spooky, but you're just picnicking outside when the weather is perfect with your friends, with your family. So that's always a good time. So what are they playing this Halloween season at Cinespia at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery? Well, tomorrow on October 5th, it's going to be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre's 50th anniversary. Coraline is the week after. Trick or Treat, which is a movie I don't know anything about, that's the weekend after. And then on Thursday, October 31st, Halloween night, they're doing a special Cinespia Halloween party at the Orpheum Theater. So that sounds like a ton of fun as well. Just some of the little things that are out there. But yeah, I always had a lot of fun doing that. I got to imagine it's a lot easier knowing that you don't have to actually park a car there. So good to know. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. 1-800-222-5222. If there are Halloween events in your neck of the woods that you want to give a shout out to, now is the time. 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Angela in Castaic. Angela, hello.
Hi. I am just calling to let you guys know about Castaic Lake. I did it 2 years ago with my nieces and nephews. They put on like a haunted house, and they had a bunch of like games for the kids to play, and they could win candy. And then they did a movie out on the lawn, a Halloween movie. And I think it goes like they did it for I think like a whole weekend or like 3 or 4 days, and it was all free. Other than I did get to pay for parking, and it was a fun time. It was fun for the kids, and it's something that's like I said inexpensive and local for a lot of people to do.
Sounds like some of the things that Santa Clarita always has. Santa Clarita just gets like having fun events that the whole family can enjoy. That sounds like a blast.
Yeah, it was. It was a really good time, and the haunted house part was pretty scary. So, but they do like. If they see little ones, they kind of, tone it down a little bit. But then the older kids, they really get. And, like I said, a lot of fun. Something, like I said, free and enjoyable for a lot of people in the area.
That sounds great. I love the suggestion. Thanks so much for the call, Angela. Appreciate it. Looks like this year they're doing the Halloween Haunt at Castaic Lake. They're calling it the Haunted Hike. It's going to be Friday, October 25th, Saturday the 26th, and Sunday the 27th at Castaic Lake. The Forbidden Trail is what they're calling it, which sounds like an outdoor haunted house, which sounds amazing. That sounds like a ton of fun. And they say the Haunted Hike is rated PG-13, so the little kids might get a little spooked, but they also have a kids festival there, so you could take the little kids to that. Castaic Lake, Santa Clarita, I can't say enough great things about it. It's lovely up there. That's a fun one. That's so cool. And yeah, if you're one of these Halloween performers, you're a haunted house performer, you got to know your audience. You got to know who you can freak out. You can't try to use the same amount of scare on everybody. There was one Halloween, I don't think I was still living at my parents' house, but I was there for Halloween night, and I was helping pass out candy for trick-or-treaters. And I was like in my early 20s. I was kind of a jackass. Anyway, like, I started thinking it would be really funny when kids knock on the door if I really loudly knock back. And it would give some kids kind of like a shock or a scare, and I would laugh. And then a knock came on the door, and I did that, and it was like some 5-year-old girl in a princess outfit, and she was legitimately terrified, and I felt like a monster. So I'm not going to do that one anymore. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. I got one more thing I'd love to tell you about for Halloween, and it's a little different. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're celebrating all the fun things people can do of all ages to celebrate the Halloween season in Southern California. And if I think back to all the different kinds of things I've done over the years, I've told you about the theme parks and the Queen Mary and Descanso Gardens. We got some suggestions from the audience. The most different one that I've ever been to, the thing that's totally out there, a completely different kind of event, but definitely belongs in the mix, is in 2012, I got into raves. I think for my birthday that year, a listener to my podcast sent me as a gift a ticket to a music festival, electronic music festival in downtown LA. And I ended up having a really good time. So I went to another one. And then the one I went to after that happened to be at the NOS Center in San Bernardino, which is the only reason the city of San Bernardino has any revenue is because all the big music festivals are out there at the National Orange Show. And oh my goodness, they do this thing at Halloween time called Escape from Halloween. Now, if you don't like electronic dance music, you are not going to like this event because it is all electronic dance music. It is incredibly loud, but if you are not bothered by that, the people watching can be a lot of fun because usually people are all dressed up in kind of ravey outfits and brightly colored clothes and gloves that have lights on them. But Halloween time, people are all dressed up in costume and dancing and getting all crazy. Now, I got to say, as a grown-up, I would not advise you taking any illegal substances at these events because that leads you down a weird path. And let's just say that whole year was a strange one for me. But, made me who I am today. I don't totally regret it. But you can have just as much fun doing the people watching, doing the dancing, and seeing the costumes and everything. I got to tell you, I dressed up as Cookie Monster. I had Cookie Monster pajama bottoms, a Cookie Monster shirt, and a giant Cookie Monster head. And every single person at that rave, whether they were on drugs or not on drugs, wanted to give me a hug. People would run at me and go, Cookie Monster! And then ask me if I had any cookies, which I'm sure was some code for drugs, which I did not because I was a square and someone else was bringing in the drugs for me. But Escape from Halloween. If you've ever been to something like that, it is a wild scene. They're doing it Friday, October 25th and Saturday, October 26th. Multiple stages, lots of events. I think they even do light shows and haunted houses, and I really had a lot of fun doing that. I don't know if I can handle it this time. And I got to imagine if you're not on something, whether it's weed, whether it's X, whether it's who knows what booze, you might feel a little claustrophobic because there's so many people around you. But I remember those events fondly, especially watching everyone get dressed up. And it's a good time. That's part of the fun of the Halloween season is seeing everyone dressed up in all the costumes, you know? It's a good time. We're in tradition times now. It's going to be all Halloween now. Then we start thinking about family and Thanksgiving. And then before you know it, the Christmas season is here. And I'm here for all of it. I love this time of year. I love the fact that it's all traditions. And I love that we get to do the same things every year. And they're a little different every year. But there's just something so comforting about it. So, hey, there's your little handy guide on stuff to do in Southern California for the Halloween season. We'll do this again next year. And we'll have even different responses. Maybe one of you will have taken me up on it and went to Escape from Halloween and be like, Randy, why did you tell me to go to a rave? Thank you all so much for listening to this show. It is a pleasure to bring it to you every single night from 5 to 6. If you ever miss an episode of the show, go to kabc.com/newsblitz. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. We'll see you Monday. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC.